Well, okay. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to Stanford Igniters and to Cynthia and Raj for inviting me. It is my great honor and distinct pleasure to have the opportunity to be with you here this evening. I'm hoping we'll have a lot of fun tonight. The idea is to have some interactivity here tonight around the topic of how do you get your listeners to wow. So the big idea behind this session is to change the way you think about pitching. And part of what I want to share with you are a bunch of things that I wish somebody had shared with me when I was an entrepreneur. Because when I was an entrepreneur, and I spent, as Cynthia said, most of my career as an entrepreneur, starting up startups. I started my first company when I was at Stanford. So I'm a Stanford Igniter, right? So I started my first company when I was a graduate student at Stanford a long time ago. I like to say before it was fashionable to do so. Started a company. It was a brilliant success until it crashed and burned. So I tend to emphasize the brilliant success part. And then I started another company which actually went public, so that was great. And then I thought I had it down. I thought I knew it all. I started another company, and it crashed and burned. So I realized, first lesson of entrepreneurship is it's important to be modest. You can never get it all right. So then I started my fourth company, and that one did go public, and I decided I was going to quit while I was ahead. Forget about this entrepreneurship stuff. And so I got together with this gentleman named Guy Kawasaki, and we started this thing called Garage. And the whole big idea behind Garage was to be a different kind of venture fund. We like to say that Garage was designed to be the first venture fund to be designed for the benefit of entrepreneurs. And so what does that mean? What that meant was we wanted to be the most outreach-oriented venture firm out there. So Guy loves to write books. He loves to give speeches. I like to work with entrepreneurs. I like to do panels. I like to do workshops. And so that's what this is. So as part of all of that, several years ago, a friend of mine who runs a different kind of meetup, but a friend of mine said, "Hey, Bill, we're doing a pitch event. How'd you like to be a judge at a pitch event?" And I do lots of judging at lots of pitch events. And I was kind of busy, and she heard me audibly moan when she asked me, to do the pitch event. And I didn't, I try to be polite. I try not to do stuff like that. But she heard it over the phone. And she said, "Bill, I thought you loved doing this. I thought you loved entrepreneurs. What's wrong?" I said, "Well, these pitch events, they're kind of painful. Well, why? Because these pitches, they're all so bad, And so she said, "What do you mean? What do you mean? It's the lifeblood of Silicon Valley, these pitch events." And I go, "Yeah, I know, but, we must be doing something wrong, And she said, "Well, what are we doing wrong?" And I said, "I don't know. I'll have to try to figure it out." So I spent some time trying to figure it out. What are we doing wrong? And so I started going and looking at all the different sort of pitch coach blogs, and I listened to the pitch coach, and I watched, looked up all the templates online, and I realized, oh my God, we are doing damage to these poor entrepreneurs, telling them, kind of that this is how you should pitch. And I realized that, we here in Silicon Valley have created this sort of false framework for thinking about telling your story, which is called the elevator pitch. And if you think about it, the only time you can ever use an elevator pitch is at an elevator pitch competition, right? When can you ever really use an elevator pitch? First of all, there are no elevators in Silicon Valley, right? So you're never, right? You're never going to use it in an elevator. And I realized that this is the dirty little secret of the elevator pitch. Many years ago, a bunch of VCs got together and said, these pitch competitions we do, 8 to 10 minutes, I can't stand listening to this for 8 to 10 minutes. Let's force these entrepreneurs to shorten their pitches down. And somebody thought, yeah, but what's the excuse for that? Well, let's pretend they're in an elevator with an investor. Yeah, but nobody's ever in an elevator. Yeah, but they won't get that. But so this is all a conspiracy. The entire concept of elevator pitches is a conspiracy of the venture capital industry to try to shut you up faster, right? So, okay. But you still got to somehow get the message across. And so why aren't all of these ideas that pitch coaches are teaching, why aren't they getting the message across? Well, so, this is kind of what I see out there, what I hear when I happen to be sitting in the audience with a pitch coach on stage as to what they're telling entrepreneurs to do when they're pitching. And so, the first thing you hear from every pitch coach, I think, this is common. Everybody says this, start with the problem, right? And it makes sense, of course. Before you tell what your solution is, you've got to start with the problem. And so the result, though, is every entrepreneur who walks into our office and pitches, they put up their slide deck, they're all set, they got everything going, and they spend the next 15 minutes talking about the problem. Because it's so interesting, the problem we're solving, Do you realize there are over 2.5 billion phones on the planet today? And that has grown at an annual rate of 17.5% compounded over the last 10 years. So now we have literally billions of people who have access to telecommunications. But what sort of applications do they have available on these applications? Well, there are over 150 million applications available on the iPhone alone. And they go on, they go on and on about the world. And basically, you think about it, we all know this. Whatever you say is the problem you're solving, I almost guarantee, think about what problem you're solving. Think about how you would articulate the problem you're solving. And I'm betting everybody else in this room already knows that that's a problem. You don't have to spend 15 minutes explaining it. So, we invest in clean tech, for example. Every clean tech company that comes into our office spends the first 5 minutes describing in excruciating detail exactly how many tons of carbon we're pumping into the atmosphere every day. We know this. You don't have to tell us this. So if it's not clear what problem you're solving, simply by saying what it is you're doing, it's possible. It's possible that you've got such an esoteric technology that it's not obvious what problem it solves. But I'm willing to bet that for 9 out of 10 of you, not everyone, I'll admit, not everyone, and I know each one of you is sure you're the exception. I know that. But, but just ask a friend, right? What you'll find if you just explain what it is you do, then probably 9 out of 10 times people understand the problem you're solving. So you don't have to go into excruciating detail about the problem you're solving. Okay? The second favorite thing for pitch coaches to coach entrepreneurs on is to tell a story, right? Because we know from psychology, we know from experience, the human brain is 10 times more likely to remember a story than a fact. And so every decent pitch coach out there says, tell a story. Now, I'm not saying they're wrong. And I don't know, it's possible somebody here in the audience is indeed a pitch coach, and I apologize, okay? I totally admit it's true that we understand stories better than we remember facts. But that doesn't mean you walk in like some entrepreneurs do. They walk into our office and they're all set, they're all teed up here, and they have their opening slide and they say, but before I talk about our company, I want to tell you a story. When I was a kid, my grandfather had a farm. And on the farm, he had a pond. And across from this pond, there was some woods. And I would go down to the pond, and I would look across the pond, and I would look at the wood. And, and we're sitting there listening to this entrepreneur thinking, when is he going to get to the point, right? So, don't tell me about your grandfather's farm, and God bless. Don't tell me, about your aunt who suffered from some horrible disease or whatever. I mean, I feel for you, but it's it's distracting. It's not critical that you tell a story, a long-winded, extensive story up front. Maybe after we get to know you, maybe after we get to understand your business a little bit, then maybe you can tell a 30-second story. But do not give us a 5-minute story, okay? The other thing you get a lot of on the internet, you go, pitch, template, right? You'll get a whole bunch of pitch templates. And so you'll get a lot of people saying, just follow this template, and you will wind up with the perfect pitch, right? So, whether it's 12 slides or 10 slides or 38 slides or whatever, just fill out all these slides. So we get all these entrepreneurs that they download a template and they diligently fill it out, and sometimes they don't even change the prompts, whatever. I'm being cruel. But the point is, entrepreneurs, they'll fill out the template and they'll think, oh, that was a ton of work, but I'm done. I've got it. I filled out the template, and they walk in with the template, and almost certainly whoever designed that template had perfectly good intentions to provide you with some guidelines about topics you need to cover, but almost certainly that template does not fit precisely the best way to tell the story of your company. So templates can be very valuable, but do not follow the template. Use them as a framework, as a guideline, whatever. So now I'm waiting for somebody to jump in and say, hey, wait a second, Bill. You guys got a template on your website. Guy Kawasaki is always out there saying, follow the 10-20-30 rule, right? So it's not a template. It's a guideline, okay? So we trust you as entrepreneurs to be advocates for your own story. Tell your story the best possible way. Don't think just because somebody, even Guy or me, tells you should follow a template, that you should follow a template, okay? The next rule, every pitch coach tells you to show your passion, So we get these entrepreneurs that they are screaming about how revolutionary, curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting, disruptive their technology is, transform the world and all of that, right? And, okay, we get it. But what you really want to do is make your investors passionate rather than bouncing around in front of the investor and showing your passion, okay? So that's really what you want to focus on. We all ask entrepreneurs to explain what you do. And the natural reaction of an entrepreneur is to say, oh, okay, well, technically, what we do is we use a, XYZ protocol framework to enable a server that could be based here to talk through a VPN to a client, and they start explaining what they do. But that's not really what we want. We don't want you to explain what you do, what your product does, how your product works. We want to understand what is your company accomplishing in terms of creating value for customers, So you make somebody's life better. That's what we mean when we say explain what you do. But, typically, you're living, you're breathing your product. You're trying to get it out the door. You've been thinking about it for years. You've been working on it 24/7, and you're really into the weeds of your product. You really know how your product works, and you're so proud, right? You're so proud of how your product works because nobody else on the planet has made bits do what you can make bits do. And you want to share, right? You want to share with the world what you do with bits that nobody else can do, right? And, so that's not what we're asking when we say explain what you do. Classically, every VC wants you to show a big market, and every coach tells you, you've got to show them a big market. And so every entrepreneur says, and our market is $56 billion because I found a report out of IDG that says that our market is $56 billion. And then that cannot possibly be true, right? It can't possibly be true that your market is $56 billion. Even if you are in the auto parts industry, and the auto parts industry is $56 billion, maybe, that's not your business, and you're not competing for all $56 billion of it. So we would rather generally, as VCs, we would rather that you are focused on a $0 billion market that you are going to invent and turn into a big market, rather than going after a $56 billion market, which means if it's a $56 billion market, there are some big hunkin', contemporary incumbent companies there that you've somehow got to displace. Now, we all love the idea that you might be disruptive, but, I'd rather go where they ain't than try to go directly after a bunch of big players. So, and then the last one, which is just a throwaway, but I still see it all the time, is, entrepreneurs have been told, you got to tell them what your exit strategy is. And so every single entrepreneur who has been coached this, who comes into our office, has at the back end of their slide deck, they've got, a bullet point that says, and our exit strategy is either we will be acquired or we will go public. And, that, do not waste our bandwidth with that comment. So the point is, and I'm being a little bit harsh here to the pitch coach universe, to try to make the point that the reality is out there in the world, not just with VCs, but out there in the world, you've got 20 seconds to be compelling, or you might as well go home. So anytime you interact with anybody, I'm not just talking about VCs, customers, possible employees, people of the opposite sex at a bar, people of the same sex at a bar, whatever. I don't care. But, life is about the first 20 seconds, right? Life is about the first 20 seconds. So you got to figure out, how do I get them excited about what I'm doing in 20 seconds? And so this was my sort of realization, is the way we package the whole pitching world is we tell entrepreneurs, you've got 2 minutes, or you've got 4 minutes, or whatever it is, and you don't have 2 minutes or 4 minutes, much less 20 minutes or an hour. You got 20 seconds to hook them. And so that's my message to you tonight, is all of you have got to figure out, in every context in which you're trying to tell your story or sell something, you've got to figure out, what am I going to say in the first 20 seconds? I don't have a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. I got 20 seconds to figure out, how do I grab their brains and increase their pulses in the first 20 seconds? So we have a question.
Yeah. It seems like we now have, we're kind of back to the concept of an elevator pitch relabeled and refined.
I'm sorry? Relabeled and what? Yeah. So what I'm going to tell you, what I'm going to tell you is, I want you to formulate this for your company, for yourself, for every situation, whether you're selling, or whether you're pitching, or whether you're talking to a prospective employee, or whether you're talking to a partner, or whether you're leaving a voicemail, whatever. That's the concept here, is that this should be a useful tool for you in every place that you need to communicate your value proposition. Okay? Okay. Whatever you say. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not the first person on the planet to say you got to get them, you got to grab them up front. Now, the coach wisdom that I didn't put up here is the guys who say you have to be able to tell your story in 8 words or in 12 words or whatever. Because I get that as well. I mean, and that's a useful exercise as well. It'd be good if you could tell your story in 8 words or 12 words, but that's not sufficient. And I'm not suggesting that it is. So I'm just saying that what I want to talk about tonight, and then what we're going to do is we're going to get 3 people, right, to come up and try their own wow. And we're going to talk about what works and what doesn't work using some real examples. So it's a little risky for both the persons who pitch and for me. It's a little risky, sort of without any scripting to see how it's going to go. But hopefully we can show you some ways in which this is a powerful tool. So, and what I'm going to share with you is sort of the counterexample of the typical elevator pitch, one of the classes of typical elevator pitch that we get. And this is actually a mashup of stuff that we've actually heard. Somebody comes into our office, I'm changing the name to protect the guilty, and says, Coolco is a dynamic startup company that has developed a revolutionary technology that's going to disrupt our $56 billion industry. Our team has over 45 years of combined experience, and we have 3 patents pending. We project that our curve-jumping, paradigm-shifting, disruptive solution will transform the blah, 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 right? So I don't know if any of you, I'm sure none of you are guilty of this, right? But again, you're trying, we coach entrepreneurs, think big, think change the world. That doesn't mean use adjectives that are not credible, I mean, everybody's revolutionary and everybody's disruptive now, right? Of course. What was the other day, this guy comes in and he says, and I say, so what is your distinctive difference compared to everyone else? And he said, what he said. So we focus on customer ease of use, right? And I said, oh, that's right. The other guys, they just came in. They said they want to make it hard for their customers, right? Yeah, right. So, right, so you got to be careful. So the point is, when you do these pitches, we're sitting there, whoever it is, whether it's a customer or whether it's an investor or whatever, we're just not following what it is you're doing, and we're tempted to pull out our phone and start checking our email. Yes?
Thank you. Instead of giving a summary in a very short time, like us to see.
Yep.
Isn't the objective just to get the feedback? Tell me more, tell me more and tell me more.
Right. Exactly. The point of the first 20 seconds is to earn the right to continue, to continue engaging, right? That's the point of the first 20 seconds. The challenge, and so a lot of people have been coached this when they're, picking up people in bars, right? But, not so much, right? So not so much, though, when they have a 2-minute elevator pitch. You got 2 minutes, and they use every single one of those 120 seconds, and they hope that they're going to end with a bang. So, that's the idea. Yes?
How about a question in the first 20 seconds? Does that work?
Okay, so we're going to talk about technique. Okay, we're going to talk about technique shortly. All right? So we'll get there. And the point is, if you aren't compelling and clear in the first 20 seconds, this is where you wind up. I love this picture so much. I just had to figure out how to use this picture. So in any case, the point is, you can't just describe stuff. You've got to get to wow. And this is the big, epiphany that I had that nobody told me when I was an entrepreneur, which is, how do VCs invest? When I was an entrepreneur, I was told, and my sense of the VC world was these VCs, have these extraordinary analytical brains, and they have the ability to process entrepreneur information, their summaries, their decks, their words, their spreadsheets. They can process this information in their extraordinary brains with their extraordinary algorithms and conclude with a definitive internal rate of return calculation like that, So I figured, being a good, student, I figured if I can craft an incredible, logical, analytic, data-driven argument, in whatever, 36 slides, 54 slides, whatever. If I can craft this incredible legal brief type of analytic presentation that would help them, come to this conclusion that we indeed are going to generate a 55% internal rate of return for them, or whatever the number was, then that would be the secret to success in pitching VCs. What I found out is that VCs do not invest with their brains. I went, after we became VCs, after we started Garage and crossed over to the other side, most of our investors, a lot of our funding came from the VC community. So the idea of Garage was to be the farm team for the venture capital community. And so I went to all of our new VCs, at Sequoia and Mayfield and Draper Fisher Jurvetson and Highland and these guys, and I said, okay, now I'm on your side of the table. What's the secret? What's the algorithm? Tell me, what's the secret to how we make investments in it? Because we want to make good decisions. And they'd sit and kind of say, well, we invest in teams. And I go, there's got to be more to it than that, right? And they'd say, well, yeah, it's kind of pattern recognition. You're in this business 5 or 10 years, and you kind of learn how to see what's good. And I'm going, this is crazy. There's no algorithm. There's no secret sauce. I got to wait 5 or 10 years before I can, figure out who to invest in. And what I found out, after spending some time, is that VCs, they're not investing with their brains. They're investing with their hearts. What happens is VCs invest in companies because they fall in love. It's because they fall in love with a company that they go back to their partners and say, we gotta look at this company. It's not because of some connection with some deep analytic framework in their heads. And it's not even because they're greedy. It's not even because they think that this is gonna happen, this is gonna make me rich. It's because they fall in love. And that's the secret nobody told me that I am sharing with you. The secret to pitching anyone is to get them to fall in love. And so the question then comes up, okay, Bill, so why do VCs fall in love? And I'm thinking there's a song here somewhere, right? but probably not, actually. So why do VCs fall in love? And that's and that's obviously the hard question. But I think there are 3 types of VC love, right? So the first type of VC love is indeed VCs fall in love with teams. So this team comes into the office and they're sharp and they're articulate and they know what they're talking about. They work well together. They listen. They focus, And you say, hey, I can work with these guys. They're smart. It looks like fun, not like that jerk that came in, whatever, right? So VCs, they do indeed. They fall in love with teams because it's human to do so. If you think someone is brilliant and smart and effective and is going to execute, you can fall in love with them. And this happens all the time. And that's why VCs don't mind that much when companies pivot, Pivoting is just another way of saying you got it wrong, right? But if you're in love with the team, you're okay with that. So VCs fall in love with team. The second kind of VC love. So VCs do fall in love with technology. So we are all kind of gadget freaks at some level. We all kind of get excited when we see something that we've never seen on the face of the planet before, right? So indeed, if you can make bits do something that nobody else has ever made bits do before, and it's important, and it has, some broader value, that can be really cool. Or if you can make atoms do something, material science. But if you can do something that's never been done before on the face of the planet, we can kind of get excited about that. So that's the second kind of VC love. VCs do fall in love with technology. And then the third kind of VC love is VCs fall in love with a vision. And this is sort of the most platonic form of VC love, which is to say, a team comes in and they've got a vision for how they're going to change the world. And we say, I want to be part of that because I can go home to my wife and my daughter and they will say, Dad, you are a wonderful person. Right? And that's important to me, right? So we fall in love with the vision. And the best example of that in our experience, this team from Stanford, four students out of Stanford, 2 engineers, 2 MBAs, come into our office and they say, we have invented a solar rechargeable lantern that is cheaper than kerosene. I go, okay. That sounds like one of those social do-good philanthropic venture kind of things. And they came over the table at us and they said, you don't get it. Unless we build a big billion-dollar, scalable, profitable business, we're not going to have an impact on the world. And we go, whoa, I love this, So this is a company we fell in love with. It violated almost every one of our investment rules. It was, we were going after a market that was not in the United States, that we pretty much didn't know anything about, that would involve selling to people who had no money. What sort of investment decision is this, right? So this is a company called D.light Design that was started at the D School at Stanford that is now just killing it. I mean, they are doing phenomenally well. It's been extraordinary what they've accomplished in terms of developing a for-profit company that is distributing through distribution channels in East Africa, West Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia. It's unbelievable what these guys have accomplished. And if you go to their website, they have a counter of the number of people whose lives they have affected. So they're like at 20 million lives now where they have delivered, instead of kerosene lanterns, these LED lit solar rechargeable lanterns, which give 200 hours of light on a single solar charge. It's phenomenal what these guys have accomplished. So I can keep talking about them. But the point is, we fell in love with them. We violated all of our rules in order to invest in them, and thank God it's working out. So, but those are the 3 kinds of VC love. You each have got to figure out what is lovable about what you're doing. What is it that will grab someone, not just in the head, but in the heart, and cause them to say, wow, this is a team or a technology or a vision that I really want to be involved with. That's my point. Figure out what your wow is and get it out front. Every time you're out there, get your wow out front. So if you can figure that out, it is valuable to you across everything you do from now on. So, of course, it's useful when you're pitching to investors, but it's also when you're talking to customers. Now, it's going to be a little different talking to customers than to investors. So again, I'm not saying be rigid about it, but I'm making the point you can use this concept when you're pitching to customers as well. when you're schmoozing at events, again, you can't use your elevator pitch when you're at the shrimp bar, talking to someone. You got 20 seconds to get them to turn and say, tell me more, right? Posting updates when you're recruiting employees, when anybody in your organization is out there trying to tap talent, how do they sell your company? Well, we got a startup, we got funding, we need people, right? Well, why should I care about you? I mean, in a world where it's a seller's market for talent. When you're looking for strategic partners, when you're sending out emails, when you're on your website, how do you tell your story on your website? When you're leaving voicemails, I mean, this is classic. Of course, nobody uses the phone, the voice anymore. They use the phone. Nobody leaves voicemails anymore, right? But every once in a while, I still get a voicemail on my phone, and somebody's calling me up and say, "Hi, my name is Bob, and I got a company, and we have a technology, and we need money. So could you call me back?" Right? Seriously, I mean, am I really motivated to call them back? So obviously, press releases, marketing materials, how do you tell your story in a compelling way in very few words? So the point is, and a team training, this is classic, marketing 101. If you look at a company of more than 2 people, actually, you look at a company of more than 1 person, and you ask everybody in the company, so tell me in 20 seconds, what is compelling about your company? You will probably get, n times 2 answers, right? Where n is the number of people in the company, right? So there's a formula there somewhere, right? But you want everybody on your team to be totally comfortable with what the wow is about your company, right? So how many people if you were to have everybody in your team write down what's the wow, think you would have tight convergence. Only if there's only one of you, I think, okay. So the point is, you can use this framework all the time. So Bill, what's the framework? I'm going to tell you what the framework is. So the 3 C's of getting to wow. 3 C's are, you got to be clear about what you do. Well, that's kind of obvious, right? But how many people violate it? I mean, you got to be clear right up front what you do. You've got to be compelling. You can't just be descriptive. You've got to be compelling about how much better you are and how you're different than everyone else. And then last, but certainly not least, you've got to be credible. So you can't, say curve-jumping, disruptive, revolutionary, easy to use, whatever it is, right? You've got to be credible. So how do you do that? I'm going to give you 3 simple steps. 3 simple steps that you can follow to get to wow. So the first thing that I really encourage everyone to be able to do is, in your first sentence, after you've said, "My name's Bill and I work at Garage Technology Ventures," your first sentence is to be really clear about what it is you do. Because it's stunning how many entrepreneurs, if you were to all introduce yourselves to each other, I would bet you that at least 2/3 of you would have the experience, or all of you would have the experience, get my math right here, all of you would have the experience that 2/3 of the time after the person introduces themselves, that you still don't understand what it is their company is doing. So, get that down. Now, how do you get that down? What you want to be able to do is state what it is you're doing in a frame that positions yourself in terms of what you do that is better than everyone else. I'm not telling you to explain how much better you are. I'm just saying position yourself clearly in terms that anybody could understand. So use, for example, the Wall Street Journal, not IEEE, okay? What would a Wall Street Journal reporter use as the sentence to describe what it is you do? The Wall Street Journal reporter would not say, you know, this company is a curb-jumping, revolutionary, disruptive, blah, 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 right? They wouldn't, the Wall Street Journal would not say that. So why do you say that on your website? Because nobody's going to pick that up. Why don't you give the world the sentence that you want the world to repeat? Right? Give the world the sentence that you want the world to repeat. Nobody's going to repeat your extraordinary claim. They're going to repeat a sentence that says clearly and credibly what it is you do. So, imagine the sentence you wish that journalist would put in the first paragraph of that article. Write that sentence for everybody going forward in the future. What is that sentence that you want to appear, at the beginning of that article? The article in Wall Street Journal or in TechCrunch or wherever you want that article to be. What is that sentence? So it's going to be something that the average 8th grader, smart 8th grader, by definition, right? The average 8th grader will understand. Not necessarily your mother. Your mother's different than the average smart 8th grader. But it has to be something that everybody will understand in language that they understand. Okay, that's your first sentence. All right? Your second sentence is, what is the compelling benefit? Okay? So this is where you got to get the blood pounding. Okay? You got one sentence to get my blood pounding. And you're going to say in that one sentence, what is the compelling benefit that you offer to whom? We make it faster, we make it more reliable, we make it cheaper, we make it whatever it is, there's a benefit to what you're doing. And it better be compelling. How compelling is it? Give me the metric. We are 5 times faster. We are 20% the cost. We are whatever the metric of merit is for what you're doing, there has to be a compelling value to why you're doing this company. Otherwise, you wouldn't get up in the morning and do it, right? So you know that you have some compelling value underlying what it is you're sweating to do. Get it out there clearly. So a way to write this sentence is to start the sentence with, the big idea behind our company is ... The big idea. Not the 15 features, not the 5 different revenue streams, not the 8 different market segments you can attack. I want the big idea. What is the big idea behind your company? So, and then insert, somewhere in there, you're going to insert some benefit. And in that benefit, I want some metric of merit around that benefit. Okay? Now, you may not be there yet, but it's what you're going to do. It's what you're promising to do for the market. Okay? Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, so the world must be doing something today instead of what you're offering. So somehow you're offering to change the world in a way that is better than it was before you existed. How is it better? It's got to be better in some way. So whoa, excuse me. To the extent that it's measurable, so you might have an exception here. So hopefully you're going to be one of the 3 winners, and you're going to try it. Okay? Hopefully. Okay. So the second. So what's the big idea? What is the big idea? Okay. The third sentence. So this is another dirty little secret about VCs. So VCs read thousands of plans and listen to hundreds and thousands of pitches. So the problem is our brains are not computers, they are imperfect. But brains work through adjacencies in sort of pattern recognition, right? So as soon as you say what you're doing, every VC's brain starts doing this. Oh, that reminds me, that's just like that company. There were two companies. One was, and they were doing, and what was that other company? What was the name of that other? And the VC's brain is trying to recover these previous experiences. Now, we may be nodding and smiling and look like we're paying attention to you. But we're not. You know, our brain is spinning, trying to recover, trying to go grab the name of that company that sounds exactly like what you're doing, right? So that's what's going on. So you cannot wait until you get to slide number 13, which is your competitive landscape slide. You've got to immediately shut this down. And you've got to make it critically clear how you are different from every other possible idea that's spinning around in the back of my brain. Because otherwise I'm going to keep thinking about. So what you need to do at this point, your third sentence, you know, you're now 18 seconds into your pitch, and you've got to say, you may have heard of other companies that are doing something like this, or you might actually have a specific company. You know, this sounds like maybe it's kind of like clout, but unlike those other companies, what we are doing that is different is ... So you got to preempt all that and get me focused on what you're doing, not trying to compare what you're doing to all those other companies. So your third sentence is be clear what your differentiation is. How are you different from all of the rest? Because the challenge today is there's almost certainly 10 other teams in Silicon Valley and 100 other teams around the world that are doing something pretty similar to what you're doing. Maybe not exactly the same, but the chances are you're talking to a VC or a customer who has seen one or two or three of those companies. And so you probably don't even know who those companies are, right? You might not. But you've got to make it clear that you are different, as clear as you can. Yeah. Good or bad to say you're what? First to market. That is one of the top 10 entrepreneur lies. Is we have the first mover advantage. Because for two reasons. One, you probably aren't. There's probably 8 other teams, 5 of which already have funding, you know. But maybe not. Even if you are first to market, it's not clear being first to market is at all an advantage, you know, because history has shown that the first mover generally dies, right? You know, Facebook was not the first mover, right? You know, Apple wasn't even the first mover. You know, IBM. So, you know, pick a brand in technology and tell me, you know, who was the real first mover. You know, there are very few examples. Intel maybe, right? Intel maybe, right? I mean, pardon? Well, okay. So let's get this show on the road. Yeah? Oh, okay. How what? How? Right. So you'll never know everybody. Right. You will never know everybody that's out there. You'll never be able to preempt everyone that's out there. So you know, the best you can do is be crystal clear about what at least to the best of your knowledge is your differentiation vis-a-vis everyone else you know about or the status quo. Or you do it in terms of what you can enable that is, you know, as far as you can tell in the market, nobody has yet enabled. You know, what we can do that nobody else has been able to do is this. You know, so, okay, so that's what I want. So 3 of you are going to have the opportunity to come up here and give me this. And I hope the rest of you are now thinking about, now how does this work for me? 3 simple steps. Now, I'm waiting for somebody to shoot up their hand and say, wait a second, Bill, didn't you just tell us that templates are bad? And isn't this a template, Bill? And I go back to the answer before, which is, this is not a rigid template. These are guidelines. So I would encourage you can start here, but almost certainly you will not end here. Almost certainly you will craft your wow in a way that's somewhat different. So there's some other ways to do this, and this is back to the techniques we started to talk about. some other approaches to getting to the same point. The same point meaning that you grab them by the heart, you get them to say, wow, that's amazing, I want to hear more, I want to follow up, I want to buy from you, right? So, what I'm going to tell you is, if you can do it in a sentence or half, tell a story or paint a picture. You know, Bill, didn't you just tell us? Stop telling stories. What I'm saying is, if you're really good, and I'm counting on you all being really good, you can actually tell a story. You can actually paint a picture in one sentence, right? Might be a little bit long, but, you know, it's a sentence that may start with the words imagine if, right? Imagine if you had an app that could pull together all of your contacts from all of your different sources, your company database, your Outlook contact list, Facebook, LinkedIn, and other sources into one place, making it so much easier for you to touch all the people you know, right? As opposed to, we have a platform technology that enables a CRM to aggregate contacts from multiple different diverse databases into a single file structure, right? I mean, same point, different way of saying it, right? So you might be better at getting your point across if you use the sentence, imagine if. And you're sort of telling the user case, you know, use case as opposed to describing technology. So imagine if, and then think about the customer, you're likely to do a better job of talking about what it is you're doing than if you describe your technology, okay? So another technique is, you know, is just simple language techniques like analogies and metaphors and similes and all those things we learned in high school, right? You know, if you can use an analogy to tell your story more clearly, you know, or faster, that could be great. Best example we've had of this is a team came into our office, this is before YouTube, came into our office and said, you know, there's a lot of video on the internet. We're going to be the TV guide for the internet. I know exactly what they're doing, right? So instead of trying to describe their search and scrape and indexing technology, we're going to be the TV guide for the internet. So that's a quick way to get your point across. Use an analogy. Now, a third approach, another approach which is totally different and totally violates my framework, is if you've got a really big name you can drop, then drop it early. So the best example of this, I happened to be down in New Zealand and was listening to pitches, and a woman gets up and says, hi, we offer a suite of software that does special effects for the movie industry. Last year, we won the Academy Award. And then she went on to talk about stuff, right? And I said, you know, you had me at Academy Award, you know? I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have won Academy Awards yet. I don't know, no? Okay. But, okay, we got one. You know, or the other classic case, reverse case. Team comes into our office, 55 minutes into their pitch, they get to their team slide. At the end of the team slide, they have their advisory board and co-founders. It turns out one of their advisors and co-founders was a Nobel laureate. And, you know, we kind of go, why didn't you tell us this up front? And they said, oh, well, we just wanted to end with a bang. And, and so, so our reaction was, yeah, but if you had told us up front, we would have listened. You know? So Guy was all caught up with his email by then, but whatever. So, you know, if you've got something extraordinary, you know, maybe it's, you know, Cisco is running your beta. I mean, there's a line at which you know, you validate yourself, and it's to the point of credibility, right? It's, you know, my third C, right? Clear, compelling, credible. The point of credibility is, I may not understand what you're doing, but if something extraordinary validates, that what you're doing must be very, very cool, then I'll listen, right? So it's a totally different approach to getting to wow. And there are other different approaches to getting to wow. But the point is to figure out what is your wow. You know, what will make VCs fall in love, all right? So some other quick tips. Keep it simple, be customer focused, you know, just always test yourself. Always test yourself on all of your language. Are you being customer focused or are you describing your technology? Anticipate obvious issues. This is the reason why templates don't work, is if each of you were to go tell your story to the same set of investors, you would each get different first questions at the end. So, you know, the sort of critical issue or the critical confusion or whatever it is with each company is different. So to the extent that you've done your pitch, you've talked to people and you get the same question back again and again and again, you know, figure out a way to preempt that question earlier. You know, use one or two numbers. At one point, you know, I stuck this in because I said I want a metric of merit in your pitch. And this guy comes back with he strung together 12 numbers in 2 sentences. And it was, you know, just one or two. That's all our tiny little brains can handle. And of course, you know, the last tip is don't lie. And this all has to do with the top 10 lies of entrepreneurs. So I'm going to end quickly with this, or do we have time? Do you want to do top 10 lies? You want to do top 10? Okay, I'll go through it quickly. So this is something that came up pretty early on at Garage. I was at the demo conference. You know what the demo conference is? So my first demo conference as a VC, and back then it was really super expensive, and you know, down at a resort in Southern California, and there I am. Instead of being the guy on the stage, I'm the guy in the audience getting to critique the guy on the stage. So I'm standing at the back with all these other VCs, and I'm kind of watching the proceedings, and the VC next to me turns to another VC and he says, "How can you tell when an entrepreneur is lying?" And the other VC says, "How do you?" And he says, "His lips are moving," right? Ba-dum-bum, right? So, you know, every VC that you pitch to knows you're lying. And so what we decided to do was collect the top 10 lies that we heard from entrepreneurs to try to help entrepreneurs avoid saying these things out loud, okay? So lie number 1, for example, our projections are conservative, right? You know, how many times, you know, be honest, okay. Just because Excel says you're going to be a $500 million company doesn't mean you're really likely to be a $500 million company, right? Line number 2, our target market is $56 billion, right? That means you just don't know how to segment your market. Line number 3, we have a world-class team, you know. I love it. I love it that you are very fond of your roommate and his cousin, right? And I love, you know, that you're supportive, right? But you probably don't yet have a world-class team, right? So that's okay. That's okay. We're happy as long as you have the potential to build a world-class team. You know, that's different. Line number 4, our average sales cycle is 90 days. You know, this is just the classic. Every entrepreneur who gets into the B2B world underestimates how long the sales cycle is. Line number 5, we have no direct competition. Line number 6, no one else can do what we do. A variation on line number 5 and equally false. Line number 7, all we need is 2% of the market because, right, if we have a $56 billion market, 2%, that's $1 billion. Huh, that's great, right? We'll be cash flow positive in 12 months, you know, is never, ever, ever true, right? Line number 9, our deal with Cisco will be done in 2 weeks, you know, because last week we had a meeting with them. And it was a really good meeting. You know, it was a really good meeting. They were excited. You know, so, and line number 10, I'll be happy to turn over the reins to a new CEO. Okay, those are the top 10 lies of entrepreneurs. There's some other ones that have, you know, we actually have 20, but we'll have to recycle them. So my point is, figure out how to get to wow. I'm looking forward to hearing your wows. And I just want to acknowledge my buddy Greg, who helped with these PowerPoint slides. If you ever need help with PowerPoint slides, call Greg. If you ever need help figuring out the art of the start, there's the book by Guy Kawasaki, and there's now a new online course. You can go online and you can hear me and Guy Kawasaki talking about the art of the start at Skillshare.com. So go down and sign up, right? Okay, that was my pitch in case you, whatever. Okay, I obviously did not wow everybody, huh? God, okay. So what I'm going to do is so fortunately in this room it's hard to read this, but seriously though, that's my email. And, it used to be other VCs would say, Bill, are you insane? Are you crazy? You're going to let people know your email address? Oh, no. And it's kind of like, well, wait a second. What are we here for? Why are we out here if we don't want to share? So if you have follow-up disagreements or questions or whatever, that's my email address. Or you can always feel free to tweet me, and I blew it. Oh, I did what you should never do. So that is okay. How about that, huh? Very good. Okay, and then the other point, I got to be careful with the clicker. We've got a bunch of resources on our website at garage.com, including a prose version of Getting to Wow, and our pitch template, and our executive summary template, and some other resources. So take a look if you want, and happy to share that with you. Question? The New Zealand company? It began with an M. Was it? Okay. Yeah. Right. They did not need venture capital, as it turned out. God bless them, right? Yeah. Right. Right. I mean, again, you still got to sell, right? So, by the way, to the point of the question, I strongly encourage every entrepreneur, if you can bootstrap, God bless you, bootstrap. To the extent that you can avoid the venture capital path, then you should avoid the venture capital path. And if you avoid the venture capital path, that will increase your chances of raising venture capital, right? That's the great irony, right, of this world. So I strongly encourage everyone, if you can design your company to be able to be, successful at some level without venture capital, do so. Not every company can be so designed, right? But in a lot of sectors, you have that possibility. And again, entrepreneurs should never take the approach that says, okay, I have an idea. The next thing I should do is go talk to VCs, right? That's never the right sequence, right? So, you have an idea, you turn it into something like a product, you talk to customers, you iterate a few times, you try to get somebody to pay for it, and then maybe if you, depending on your needs, you raise venture capital. But maybe you need some friends and family to help you out to start with. Maybe you get some angels who can help you out. But, it should never be, I've got an idea, now let me go talk to a venture capitalist. Because you're going to be, you guys know, it's just not going to work, especially in the current environment. So let's get going. What are we doing?
We have 6 here. You can pick 3, and then we'll go with that.
You want me to read these and pick 3? Okay. Did you already decide? Tell me you've already decided. I don't want to have to decide.
All right, we'll pick
okay.
the top 3 then.
Okay. Okay,
Google Maps for Fitness Journey.
come on down. Okay, who are the three? The first, okay.
And the second one is Accelerate Internet Connection Without Paying More. Zaitada Network.
Okay, that's you. Okay,
And
that's
next
number
one
two.
is Discover better fitting clothes from your avatars. Link below.
Okay, who's that? Is that person still in the room? Did that person ever show up? They could have sent it in from
Yeah, they
outside,
could've
right?
sent it earlier.
Okay.
So next one is Hunt and Knock Down Your Pain by Astram.
Are they in the room? Oh, all right, we have a winner. So you're number three. Who was number one? Who's the first? Who's number one?
Body scanning, Google Maps for Fitness Journey. No?
Google Maps for Fitness Journey is not in the room.
All right. For
Okay.
your 22-second professional video trailer with faces.
All right.
Three.
All right. Okay, 1, 2, 3, right? No. What? What? Like I'm such a nasty guy or something? Boy, I mean, what's, okay, you may not pass. Entrepreneurs do not pass, right? 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 Okay, come on up. So, all right, hold on a second. Let me just, Okay, come on up here. Come on up here. All right?
I mean, I'm number 2, but I'm coming first.
Yes, you're right, because number 1 is a no-show. So, you got to be ready,
Yes.
right? At every time, and any moment. You got to be ready, right?
Yes.
So, hi, my name's Bill.
Hey, I'm Subbu.
Subu,
Uh-huh.
good to meet you. So
Likewise.
tell me, so what do you do?
So we are in the business of making internet fast without breaking net neutrality. We are in the valley and we deeply care about keeping net neutral. But we understand the pain point because when imagine you are in your house with your wife, you get that one chance where you can watch some movie because your kids are out and your streaming is buffering. You're watching Netflix, it's buffering. You're watching Amazon, it's buffering.
Subu. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's give this guy a hand. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for coming up. No. All right. So everybody and you know what just happened, right? Everybody knows what just happened. So, we're in the business of making the internet faster without violating net neutrality. Your next sentence was, we're really focused on net neutrality, and we think net neutrality is an important thing. Your next sentence was, imagine you're in a house and you're watching something on the internet, and you're watching this and it's buffering, and you're watching this and it's buffering, and you're watching this and you're buffering, and it's now 35 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. And so all I got was, you're making the internet faster. Mm-hmm. Everything else was, right?
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, is there anybody here who was really shocked and surprised to learn every once in a while it's tough to get downloads at home? Is that like news? Is that like, right? Okay, okay, but we fall into this trap because it's easy to talk about, and you think you're bonding. Oh, you have this problem with the internet, don't you? I mean, oh, buddy, right? And yeah, maybe if it's maybe if you're talking with your next door neighbor and you've run out of conversation, right? Maybe you could talk about buffering, right? But you just met an investor, right? I know that there's a bandwidth issue out there. I hear you can make it faster. What's going on in my head?
Other companies that are trying to solve the same problem.
I've heard this before. Everybody says they're going to make the internet faster, right? Everybody says this, right? Literally yesterday morning, I spent an hour with the team from Norway. I love those Norwegians, Okay. Is that on TV? Okay, good. And they've got an incredibly cool technology that's making the internet faster. And so, guess where my brain is, right? Another guy who says he's making the internet faster. Now, give me something to work with here. What's so special about you?
Okay. One phenomenal thing that we have done in the past is we have done online events that stream President Obama's inauguration speech. And we did the first internet high-definition event for NFL.
Okay.
So we have been trying to deliver high-quality picture to the endpoint for quite some time. And
Okay, now I'm going to cut you off again, right? That's another 35 seconds, right? Okay, so I heard something useful here. I heard something useful here, right? So I heard we were the first company to stream high definition for the NFL, right? And then you said something about it. We've been trying to do this. We've been trying to do that, and I'm shutting down. Super. But I heard, first company to stream HD for the NFL. So here's a trick. Here's a technique. Here's an approach. If you've got something compelling about your company, and you can put those words into the mouths of one of your customers, that's a great way to tell your story. So he says, and the reason the NFL picked us over other companies that say they can do high D streaming is because what we can do that they can't do is ... So, the reason the NFL picked us, right? And they didn't just pick any random jerk off the street because it's the NFL, right? So this is a combination of dropping a big name, good. It was your second pitch that you dropped the big name, but that's okay. Dropping a big name, differentiating, and telling what's compelling about what you're doing, all in one bang, So we make the internet faster. We were the first company, we were picked by the NFL to be the first company to stream HD video. Why did they pick us? Because we have something special, whatever that is, in a few words, okay? Do you want to hear more? I'm not saying that, right? But this is, right? Yes. So you could have done that in 20 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so go work on it. But thank you so much, all right? Okay. Aha, oh, you get a goodie, yay.
Award-winning Mrs. Moskowitz munchie.
All right. Great job. Whoops, you just took his seat. You just took his seat. That's okay. That's okay. We'll play musical chairs. That's okay. All right. Right? So you see how it can work. All right? Okay. A reluctant entrepreneur. A reluctant entrepreneur is not a label you want attached to yourself, right? Okay.
I just call them not an entrepreneur.
Oh, no. Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
I'm going to take the help of your slides.
You may do that. Okay, but first you got to introduce yourself to me.
My name is Deepak.
Deepak.
And,
my name is Bill. Good to meet you.
Good to see you. I'm a research scientist at Stanford in radiology. Okay, so I want to be able to see the source of your chronic long-standing pain so that I can deliver treatment directly to the source of your pain instead of you having to take opioids or other analgesics which are systemically delivered. And the way that I can do it, which is not currently being done, is by looking at the molecular and cellular functions using functional imaging, such as using functional imaging. Currently, instead of currently being the imaging modalities that are being currently used, such as MRI or CT scan. So
Okay.
my functional modality is PET MRI.
Okay, one more time. Is what MRI?
PET
PET MRI. Okay. Okay. All right. Right. Got that. Right. Okay. All right. Okay. We got something to work with here, right? So, all right. So you, I think so. Did everybody hear what he said? You didn't know, you couldn't hear? Okay. So I'm sorry. It's unfortunate, the language. But so you took a different kind of way of telling the story, which was fine. So he started by telling a story about the customer and making it specific to me, which was, I want to be able to find the source of your pain and treat it, rather than giving you general painkillers like opioids that will, go through your whole body, right? That's the essence of it, right? So if I can find exactly where the pain is coming from, maybe I can get straight to the pain without drugging the rest of you, right? That's the big idea, right? So what he can do, then he went off into this technology thing. I do it using functional radiography rather than traditional modalities. So instead of using MRI or CAT scans, I use PET MRI, which sounds like it's kind of similar, right? But it isn't really. So, but that's about what you said, right?
Yeah.
So you get that the back end didn't entirely satisfy your typical audience. Now, it's possible that a bunch of MD, PhDs in radiology would be going, wow, that's amazing, right? And maybe that's the only group you ever have to talk to, possibly, right? But to the rest of us, right? So our immediate question is, not so much. Well, one of several possible questions is, but wait, if you can tell me exactly where the pain is, I know exactly, I broke my shoulder or whatever. So I know exactly where the pain is. How do you treat it specifically rather than just giving me opioids?
So if I go into the science now, it's
well, so the question is your secret sauce in your ability to do targeted treatment, or is it simply in your ability to identify the key source of pain?
Well, I probably should have mentioned the problem in this case. The
Okay.
problem is in chronic long-standing pain.
Right.
It's a flip of a coin to be able to identify the source of pain.
Okay.
You can feel your pain in the wrist, but the source
Right.
would be in your spine.
Ah.
You can feel the pain in your spine, but
Right.
the source would be in the wrist.
Okay. So let's say you locate the source of the pain. How do you treat, other than, I mean, even if I know the pain is there, I'm a doctor, I'm gonna give you drugs, right?
Right.
Okay.
Science.
Well, okay, and maybe we shouldn't do the science lesson here with the audience, but you see that, it's not entirely, but your point is valid, which is that the context of your solution requires a certain understanding of the problem. So you can slip that in, which is, but you still need to answer this other question, which is enabling, I don't know if it's standard approaches that can deal with it, or you've also invented that.
Yes.
You have invented that. Okay.
Leading towards that, actually. I'm still, like I
Okay.
said, I'm still not in a
Okay.
company or anything.
Okay. So now your other point was, what if we can't quantify it, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And so you can't put a number on it, but I would argue somewhere along there are some numbers, which have to do with the fact that, a certain number of people on morphine die from the morphine, right? Or whatever, or they get addicted, right? And so to the extent that, that our technology supplants for some large number of patients, we can save lives, right? So there's a number there somewhere in terms of lives saved, pain averted, and at the end, dollars saved as well. So there are some numbers that, you're going to need somewhere, whether it's your grant application or your VC pitch, you're going to need to get to some numbers. Is that reasonable? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Wait, there's more.
Fuel for innovators.
Great, thank you. And we certainly wish you the best of luck in that, right? For those of us who are getting older. All right, great. Zach.
Hi, my name's Zach. I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a student at Penn State.
Great to meet you. Welcome to Silicon Valley.
Thank you. I find it ironic that your meeting tonight was about how to pitch in 20 seconds, because our application actually allows service providers and freelancers to showcase what they do in a 22-second professional video trailer. called Flicks.
Cool. Tell me more. Okay. Like serious?
Once you log onto our app, it's very simple. You hit add to your Flicks. You can collect your photos, just photos for now, from Facebook, Instagram, and your gallery. Add a soundtrack, and you can just share it through email, Twitter, and Facebook, so that the next time a client asks you, so what do? You simply say, just check out my Flicks.
Okay, okay. By the way, you would never do that. If somebody says, what do? You would never say, screw you, just go to my website. Or whatever, sorry, I'm just saying, but I am. So great, so, but well, okay. So we get what he's doing, right? Hey, we can enable anybody to produce a professional quality 22-second video. Video trailer, right? We call it a video trailer because it's a short preview. Okay, right. Okay. So then so what's the question that's popping into my mind? What does everybody say after they hear that? Do you get this a lot? Which is, isn't that pretty easy to do?
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy to do.
Okay.
But the problem is,
we found that with freelancers or small businesses, they actually find it pretty difficult, whereas people like us, we simply do it in an instant. But what we're gearing towards is that you can go and post a service so that I can simply type in a barber shop and it knows my location. I can flip through 22-second trailers to see which barber shop I like the most based off of their trailer.
So your target audience is barbershops?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was just an example. It could be freelancers, service providers.
Okay.
So even realtors.
Okay. So I was being obnoxious there. Okay.
That's fine.
So if you're going to use an example, make it an example that reflects something core about your business. So people do this all the time, where entrepreneurs do this all the time, where they use an example that's easy to understand, but not totally irrelevant, but not core to their business. So, he uses an example of a barber shop. Well, we all understand what barber shops are, but why doesn't he, but it raises a whole bunch of questions. Really? Barbershops? Really? Do they really need, so who benefits the most from this?
Yeah.
Well, and maybe barbershops benefit. But are you going to really try to go sell every barbershop on this technology?
No.
Okay.
But I started an entertainment company when I was in junior high school.
I figured that.
Every time someone would call, they would say, hey, what kind of packages do you have? What kind of lighting do you have? And sure, I could send them to my website, but then they had to read through a bunch of stuff.
Right.
So I simply wanted to just send them a short clip, which I would make myself.
Right.
Through iMovie or whatnot.
Right.
But it's just so simple now that it's on your mobile phone.
Right.
People can flip through multiple different DJ companies.
Right.
And that's why I did it, because I started out as a young DJ.
Okay. Okay. So you're right. So now he could have started out and said, when I was young, I was a DJ, right? And he could have talked about how, people call me up all the time and ask me packages. And that's a story that's worth telling at some point, but not as the first few words out of your mouth, right? So there's a good story there that hopefully is tight, right? Hopefully it's tight. That will, clarify it, but that may be in your longer pitch somewhere, not right up front. So again, I don't want you to get the idea that Bill Reichert told me never tell stories, okay? That's not the message, right? Okay, thank you. So the story could be good. Now you got to make it clear why it is that this is something that's so significantly hard to do that, I bet probably if I search hard enough, I can find an app that kind of does this.
It does, but it's more for social. So like in terms of if I want a vacation, I could create, me in Silicon Valley. But we're focusing on the professional, sort of like LinkedIn is LinkedIn and Facebook's Facebook.
Yeah,
sort of do the same thing, but one professional, and one's much more social.
Okay, so you're saying things like Vine, right? Or any short video, whatever. I would never, for a professional purpose, want to do a FaceTime video, right? Well, maybe you.
No.
I think, right. Okay.
No.
Right. Right. So that's fine. I get that. So okay. You need to differentiate and position yourself clearly where you fit. You did. I think you got it in there with the professional in there, and then your example wasn't quite right though. So get a better example.
Okay.
And it would be, and this would be you have customers now, right?
We actually just launched our first.
Okay, so you don't have customer yet.
No.
Okay, where I was going to go was to say, so you know better than I do what your prospective customers would have to do if there wasn't you, right?
Exactly.
So, and what other apps they would have to do. What you want to do is say something like the reason they want to use us rather than XYZ, brand X, is faster, better, cheaper, something.
There's no text, you don't have to read exactly what you do. You can visually see.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're showcasing your top 10 or top 12 pictures. And it's all pictures and eventually get into the video. But it compiles the video based off pictures.
Yeah, right.
So it's not like I have to flip through my Instagram and go through your entire scroll. I can see exactly what they think.
Yeah.
The company or whatnot thinks is the best.
Right. Okay. And okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate
good. Okay. And wait, he's ready. He's ready. Okay.
I would like to be your first customer.
All right.
We have some time. Can we do one more
Oh.
bonus round?
Oh, we are? We have time? Oh, I thought we were out of time.
You get
Oh,
you pick one.
I get to pick a card, any card. Pick a card, any card. We could have asked for volunteers. I don't know, but let's see. And the winner is what? It's FitGo Tech. KG Zheng. KG, come on down. Okay. Do we have enough candy left for KG? We do? Oh, good. Okay. So, your name is?
Louis.
Louis.
Yeah, Louis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you had KG's card in there.
Yeah, that's my former name.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I
Sorry.
prefer the Louis.
You prefer Louis. Okay. Louis, good to meet you. So tell me a little bit about your company.
Well, so I'm in the virtual reality technology. Actually, what I'm doing is about online virtual fitting room. So it's like most competitors, they just like to recommend you some clothing by you inputting some data. But what we do is like we take some data analysis and give you a solution based on your taste. Like what's your interest, what's your preference, what's your hobby, and we can check your answer. It's like a package of your fashion solution. So that's basically what we do.
Okay. Okay. Whoa. So I almost lost. Okay. So you are in. So you started off a little slow there, right? So that's okay. I get it. You're in virtual reality.
Yeah.
You have a virtual fitting room. The name of your company, I thought it looked like it said FitGoo.
Yeah, the reason why I get that name is because the first part is about fitting technology.
Right.
The other part is about Google, because we love the Google culture, so that's the reason why we give that name.
Okay. So I'm going to give you I'm going to do a little audience poll here on branding. Okay. FitGoo. Maybe you put emphasis somewhere else, but FitGoo. For how many people was it obvious that the goo was homage to Google and elevated the brand because of goo? Yeah, hands? All those? Okay. So if indeed that's part of the message you're trying to communicate with the brand, I don't think it's working, right?
Okay.
So, but, goo, pardon? Yeah, right. So, you're right. So I'm not sure that works for you, but I thought, the reason I thought it was FitGoo is because I thought FitGo was taken. It's like, oh, shoot. Now what? Okay. So it could have been iFitGo or your eFitGo or whatever, but I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so you're in virtual fitting. So the harder part here is, so I get that, and I get, so again, if you could get the good thing about what you did, you notice that probably everybody in the room understands the problem of shopping for clothes online and figuring out whether it's a good fit. So you didn't do it, and you didn't fall into the trap of, e-commerce is suffering because people return their clothes, and 25% of all clothes that are ever bought on e-commerce, and 15 minutes on why e-commerce is suffering because you can't get a good fit. We all have heard this. We all understand that. So you don't have to fall into that trap. That's a good example of why you don't have to start with the problem. So now you're talking about your differentiation. Your next sentence was, everybody else tries to match the fit by asking you to input some data. We are different because we use big data. Okay? So I'm not sure that quite answered the question. You said a couple of other words, but basically, you got into the technology, right? So we do this technology as opposed to sort of figuring out a way to say why that doesn't work for most customers and our thing does work for most customers. So what's the short answer? And to how do you use it? How is your data, how is your big data better than their Excel data?
Well, because I think we have an excellent business model. So we are including the search engine and as well as the virtual fitting room, and also we have the personal garment, personal clothing. So
a personal what?
Personal garment clothing.
Closet. Personal garment closet.
Yeah.
Okay. So so now I'm getting some features, right? I'm not getting the big idea. So I need you to tighten that up, okay? Not right now. Okay. Okay. All right. So any other comments or questions or recommendations for Louis on how to tell the story better? Yeah.
Look in the mirror. You need an upgrade if you're going to sell that story.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. All right. Wait, Louis, come here. Wait. We have a special treat for you.
Oh.
A very special treat for you. All right. All right, thank you. So thank you to everyone, especially the ones who got up and had to suffer through my interrogation. I noticed, did our medical friend really flee? So, is he still there? Did he? Oh, well, sorry. Thank you so much. Again, I don't know, is there an easy way to distribute the slides? I guess I could put them on SlideShare, or you can post them? You have it? Okay. So we'll just have Stanford Igniters. If you want the slides, you don't have to ask me for the slides because it'll be posted. But if you do have any other questions or comments or recommendations, you know where to find me. All right? Thank you very much.